What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Couple Things
with Shawn and Andrew,
a podcast all about couples
and the things they go through. Today, we have a little bit of a throwback podcast.
So much so that we have to, a congratulations is in order because since we did this interview, this couple got pregnant with their second kid and had their second kid. So congratulations. And we welcome baby Carter into the world.
Yeah, just a few weeks ago, Jessica and Cody welcomed their second kid. Carter, what's the middle name? Do we know? York Nickson. A beautiful name.
Yes.
And they already had one child together.
Maverick. Little baby girl.
That's right. And we had a blast talking to Jessica and Cody. Cody was a Marine. And then Jessica was on Big Brother. And they ultimately met on Amazing Race and married each other. And now they have a family. We
had a great conversation, though. Yeah. We talked a lot about having a family be in the social media world and be in the TV spotlight and how that dynamic changes your relationship, your marriage, and then how you parent and the thought that goes into it and the conversations and the frustration, all of it.
Yeah, this was really, if not anything else, an enjoyable conversation to have. Yes. I feel like we're friends now with them.
Yeah.
And we're pumped that they had their second child. So if you want to find out more about Jessica and Cody, you can find their information in the show notes down below. Cody has a coffee company called Couples Coffee Co.
Yes.
And Jessica has a podcast that she often does with Cody called Now What Podcast. She has a bunch of guests on there that you would enjoy listening to.
Including
Claudia Oshray.
Us.
And us. Oh, sorry. I gotta get. Anyway, before we jump in, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the show, whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever you're listening, please hit the subscribe button. Oh, on YouTube as well. That's where we put our videos for the podcast. And give it a rating, too, while you're doing that. We appreciate that. Without further ado, though, let's just go ahead and jump into this one with Jessica Graff and Cody Nickson. All right, Cody, Jessica, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
I know we just got off of your podcast interview, had a blast. So for those of you listening, go check out Jess and Cody's podcast called Now What. I think it was pretty. I thought we presented ourselves well. Yeah.
You guys were awesome. Great.
My is such a nerd.
I kind of just want to start out, Jess. I was looking at your shirt and I was like, wow, that's cool. She has a Bible verse on there, and then it says, "Thou shalt not try me."
You can read that.
That's pretty aggressive.
24/7. I didn't even see
that. What is the reference for the Bible?
Honestly, it was just sent to me. Like I just got it in the mail and I was taking photos for Instagram right before this podcast interview. So he's picking my nose. I told him specifically not to pick our noses on this because it's being
She had like a droplet coming out.
My nose is running.
I love that.
Embarrassing me in front of my friends.
All right. So we share in common. We both recently had children, and I don't know who does this between the two of you, but one of my favorite things as a dad to date is doing the, what do you call it?
Nose frida.
The nose frida, where you suck out the snot.
Yes.
Well, no, he's talking about a different one. We love doing it, but we have an electric one. They suck it like with their mouth.
Oh,
that's disgusting.
I cannot
Don't judge me, Cody.
I literally, when he's doing it, if I watch or if I hear the sound, I like physically gag.
No, it's good. I try to condition myself. So, like the harder I can
intervene.
It's like lung conditioning. I feel like it gets me in better shape.
Her brains out.
You're going to eat her boogers.
It's like that. No, that's not.
Okay. So I thought,
are you not into that?
But there's like something that like stops it from going in your
filter
mouth.
Of sorts, yeah.
Is there though? Like
who eats the boogers well between you two?
Work? We don't have to put it in our mouth.
Yeah, no, it's just a sweet electronic booger sucker, which
I think we need to get that.
The electronic.
You have to get it. You get right on Amazon.
Don't rob this joy from my life.
Maverick loves it. She loves getting her boogers sucked out. She like gets excited. She always has this big smile on her face, and she just opens her mouth and she's like, ah.
Drew screams bloody murder every time this happens. So I think we are doing something wrong. I think.
Andrew's the only one that enjoys it.
Too hard.
Oh man.
Oh.
All right, so I'm curious. Tell the story of how you two met.
Yes.
Go, take it away.
You want that from me?
Yeah.
So we both got cast on a show called Big Brother.
On a show called Big Brother.
I mean, the show.
Wow, never heard of
The
it.
show called, yeah. I always wonder that because growing up, I watched it, so did Jessica. And whenever I would try to bring it up with my friends, especially military friends, they'd look at me like I was an idiot, you know. I just didn't think too many people watch the show.
You need new friends is the problem, it sounds like.
Yeah. No,
Are you auditioning?
So we met on the show, fell in love right away, and then we ended up going on another TV show called The Amazing Race, where we won it together.
You killed that.
And we got married right away, and then had a kid, and we're living.
Dang.
Living and loving.
Dang.
All history from there.
We told that so many times. I'm sorry, I just condensed that down to
it was the Cliff Notes version.
Yeah.
I'm curious, just like the first interaction where you guys were kind of like, oh, I could be into Cody. Like, what was that like?
I know mine. What was yours? I don't think you've ever told me what your moment was.
My first reaction was to stay away from you because
well, it's so serious right now.
It's a game show, right? So you're and it's a very selfish game show. You're out to win it for yourself, and just seeing her, I understood that my game would be completely messed up because I was into her immediately. So I tried to avoid her as long as possible. I think
but the long game was going to be a success.
Who would have knew it? Yeah.
But if you had been like into me in the very beginning and like active about it, I would have been in the reverse mode. Because when I saw him, I thought the exact same thing. Like, you're gonna mess up my game. This isn't gonna happen. Sorry. And then he kept leaving every room that I was in. And I was like, well, wait a minute.
Oh, it was like that.
Playing hard to get.
Yeah, it was a reverse psychology, and I'm disappointed in myself, but it worked.
Yeah. Guys, if you ever want to get the hot girl, just
whatever you can't whatever you want. Yeah.
So what was your moment that you were like, screw it?
24 hours later, I don't know. It didn't take it didn't take long at all. But it was the greatest game move I could have ever made, because even though we didn't win, we ended up being pretty popular coming out of there and cast for another TV show where we ended up winning $1 million.
So go ahead, you got it.
I have to. Major respect for Amazing Race.
Thank you.
Not just because it's like the coolest show ever and you won, but because you were a couple that traveled together for a competition and won. Every time Andrew and I go to the airport, we end up in an argument because it's like we travel differently. He needs to show up to the airport with like 30 seconds to spare. I need to show up and have at least like 30 minutes to get everything together. So, I mean, how do you pull that off?
Well, I think it benefited me because Cody has this thing called blackout mode. And whenever he goes to do things that he doesn't like, he goes into like straight zombie blackout mode. And one of the things he hates is traveling, like the whole airport process. So he's not actually mentally present. So I can just like use him like a rag doll and direct him, and he just like follows along mindlessly. So that definitely helped. And then besides that, I think we were both very conscious of like not wanting to argue on camera. Like, it's something that we had done in the Big Brother house.
It happened one time in the Big Brother house, and I mean, just the way they portrayed it and everything, we understood how it even looked. So we actively avoided ever having any kind of conflict, and I feel like we do that now. I mean, it just kind of naturally comes in. You know, we just try and respect each other more, as if there is a camera on us or something.
Yeah, I think I'm traumatized from that fight on camera. Like, I've never felt so guilty and embarrassed from an argument, and it just wasn't nice. It was like we were potentially breaking up in that moment, and I was so in love with him, and it was on camera, and everyone in our cast was promoting the breakup, and it was just like, it was awful. It was not fun. So
I can't imagine what it'd be like to have that moment recorded. It's so weird. Like, I feel like in love, it's just it's like a different version of you, I feel like. And then to have someone record these major interactions would be tough to look back on.
Well, we've gone back through a lot of our arguments, like our biggest arguments. And then like with perspective and time, you think back and like, what were we even arguing about? Like nothing.
Yeah,
sure.
And so again, to have something like that recorded and then promoted, and I can totally see that. Yeah.
I'm curious. So, well, first of all, Cody, I'm very familiar with blackout mode myself. That's how, like, for college football workouts, I was just like, see you later. In an hour and a half after this is over, I'll be back in my body.
Or shopping.
Shopping too. I'm out.
Yeah.
Tell me where to go. But was there strategy? Were you guys cast to, like, they said both of you, or was there Cody, you're on Amazing Race, and then you had to be strategic in choosing a teammate? How did that go down?
No, I was still on Big Brother, and I was in the jury house, and they snuck in a producer to bring in paperwork and said, "Hey, Jessica's on board. We want to know if you're on board. We want to both have you on the Amazing Race." So I said, of course. And I didn't realize, I thought I was going to get out and there's going to be a lot of time. And they were like, no, you have 5 days and then we're going to start shooting the Amazing Race. So I got out of the Big Brother house, and me and Jessica, barely had any time together alone. And then we were back on camera for the Amazing Race.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool though. I mean, I feel like forming a relationship on TV is one of the hardest things in the world, because you have to protect your relationship on such a high level, because you have so many opinions and editors and producers trying to produce their story as well. How did you guys protect that on 2 back-to-back reality TV shows and find the real stubborn versus the edited?
We're so stubborn. We're so stubborn as far as like, I think we're very conscious of when a producer is like trying to get us to say or do something, and we're just like, if it doesn't go with what we want to do or say, the answer is flat out no, and there's no changing that.
And a lot of people don't realize that going on these shows. One of the first times I was in front of a producer, he said, "How do you feel about this situation?" And I said how I felt, and then he said, "Okay, can you add this on the beginning?" So I added it, and then said how it felt, and then he said, "Can you add this on the end?" And so I said what he said, and then what I said, and then what he said. And then he's like, "All right, now just say that, but without that middle part."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So you see the manipulation immediately. And Jessica, fortunately, is very stubborn, same with me. And it's anytime we experience that, you don't have to go along with what the producer's saying. You don't have to do whatever they tell you to do. There's nothing in the contract that says you got to do that. And it's funny, when I was in the jury house, I was so angry at that time because they had actually intentionally split up me and Jessica. A producer would come out there and he would put us on camera and talk to us. And every answer I gave was, "I don't care. I don't care. I don't care." So finally, when that one producer came out to actually sign the contract for the Amazing Race, they asked me to give more, since they were doing the Amazing Race for us. Yeah.
And then also the argument that we had within the Big Brother house, they kept asking me to talk about it in the diary room. And I knew that if I talked about it, it was going to be a thing. So I refused to talk about it. I knew if they didn't have me like giving my opinion, or I wasn't going to talk to a producer about what I was feeling in that moment. It didn't feel right. And I also didn't want it to be like this whole segment on the show. Yeah. So they ended up having to use just like a little bit of the fight, because they didn't have us talking about it with the producers. So that actually worked out really well.
Yeah.
Go to your "I don't care" response on repeat made me think of
Marshawn Lynch.
Years I don't get fined.
That's what I was thinking.
But it's actually, I super respect you guys taking that approach. Shawn and I went to go see a premarital counselor, which was one of the most valuable things we have ever done as a couple, and probably individually as well. But this guy made the point that, like, engaging in that negative conversation about your significant other, whether it's with producers in your case or like extended family for, you know, everyone else who hasn't been on a TV show, only leads to like bad things, right? Because it just kind of amplifies it, and then
it becomes a thing.
Yeah, it becomes a thing. It's like, you know what, this is Shawn and I's problem. We're gonna deal with it together, and you guys are just outside. Not to say you shouldn't seek advice, but like there's an appropriate, I feel like, attitude to going to ask someone's opinion on, hey, you know, Shawn and I had this argument, and approach that more level-headed than going into like a dramatic conversation with your family. Be like, you won't believe what Shawn just did, and she just way different, you know? So
yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. I always try to be the friend that is like unbiased in their advice. Like if my girlfriend's complaining about their husband, if she's wrong, I'm going to tell her she's wrong. But also you have to keep in mind that when you are complaining about your significant other to friends or family, it also makes them start feeling a certain way about your spouse.
Yeah.
And
they're going to have your back.
That's an issue. Yeah.
I could see that.
Because they're like, oh yeah, you're right. Your husband's wrong. So I'm going to like, now I like your husband a little bit less or something like that. And it doesn't have to, that obviously will affect your relationship in the future, because then if your friends around your husband, there's like awkward feelings, and obviously you and your husband are going to make up, but then there's still resentment that your friends or family carry. So it's better to just like deal with things. And then if you're going to talk about it with less emotion.
Hey, we have a celebrity guest we'd like you guys to meet. Here's
Oh,
Nash.
hello.
Oh, you guys have any pets? Yeah.
He just
that
really
dog's
dark.
huge.
I think he just licked the mic. That was pretty aggressive.
He was saying hi to the listeners.
Yeah.
Okay,
We
so
had a
Cody,
dog, but he passed away in September.
Oh,
and
man, I hate
we're
that.
so not okay after that. It's going to take a long time before we ever consider getting another one.
Well,
he was amazing.
He was such a good dog, and he was so smart that it's difficult to ever try and get another dog, because like, what if they're not that smart? What if they tear up the house and just poop everywhere? And
yeah,
I mean, this one was just maintenance free, and he was great.
Yeah. Speaking of arguments, dogs are probably the number one source for Shawn and I's arguments. It's like,
why?
Because I don't know. Because I was the crazy dog lady. He was my dog, and he was like my child back when I got him. And Andrew had different opinions as to how I should raise my dog.
no, it's just like,
So we disagree a lot.
yeah, it's like, you know, we both love dogs, but Shawn treats him like an actual child.
Like
I treat him
royalty.
like a dog that I love a lot. You know, it's like different.
Does he sleep in the bed?
That was my question.
He
100%.
actually doesn't. He doesn't sleep with us.
He's allowed on the couch in the bed all
He's
the time.
allowed on there, but he doesn't sleep.
Here
on
we
there.
go.
Every night he'll get in bed for like literally 3 minutes, and then he gets down and sleeps like on the floor.
That's good.
He's
And
never,
Andrew's
slept
like-
through the night with us.
Andrew's like, if I had my way, those 3 minutes.
Yes.
Good.
Exactly.
Oh man.
Let's take a quick pause and hear from our sponsors. Today's show is brought to you in part by Duracell.
Yes, and I am so excited about this campaign that we have partnered with. Duracell is really helping out new parents, because as new parents, you go to such great lengths to prepare your home for your beautiful babies. We did so much for Drew. We baby-proofed the corners and the stairs, and you know, put the little locks on the doors and the cabinets, everything. We thought we did everything for our baby, only to find out that there's so many other dangers.
Hidden dangers, nonetheless. We found out that every year, hundreds of children ingest lithium coin batteries. And that's why Shawn and I have teamed up with Duracell on their Power Safely initiative to help bring awareness to hidden dangers of lithium coin batteries and to help educate parents on the steps that they can take to help keep children safe.
So Duracell is also helping out parents by launching the lithium coin batteries with a non-toxic bitter coating. It helps discourage swallowing and provides an additional line of defense against accidental ingestion, which is awesome. We also learned the scary dangers of these lithium coin batteries when ingested can actually burn through babies' esophaguses in less than
A couple hours.
Yes, which
Yeah.
is terrifying.
Duracell's doing a whole bunch to not only bring awareness, but also help bring parents a little more peace of mind by doing double blister packaging, this non-toxic bitter coating, and they also have this little icon on the packaging so you know what batteries have the toxic coating and what batteries don't. So we are so proud to partner with Duracell on this initiative. You can head to Duracell.com to learn more.
Again, that's Duracell.com to learn more.
Today's show is also brought to you by Function of Beauty. So just a couple days ago, we got back from a little beach vacation. We went down to Georgia, which we'd never been to. And I think it's worth you sharing how your hair usually feels after a couple days in the sun and sand.
Such a common question for you to ask me, babe. No, but I do have to say I tried to prepare better this time because girls, you all know, and guys even, that when you go to do like a beach trip and you're in salt water and chlorine, your hair can start to feel really like gross.
Thick.
Yes. But this time I actually packed the Function of Beauty. Like when you sign up and you order your bottles, you can actually add travel bottles and they're the coolest. I even packed some of Drew's like toiletries into these little bottles as well, but I took it with me and my hair felt amazing and it felt healthy and not damaged by all the toxic chemicals and stuff from the pool and the ocean.
What do you like about Function of Beauty, babe?
So I love Function Beauty because it makes it so easy to take care of your hair. You go online, you take a simple quiz about what your goals are, what your hair feels like, how damaged it is. You get to choose your scent, you get to choose your color, you get to even choose what name is on the side of the bottle. It then gets formulated specifically to you, delivered straight to your door. Plus, their formulas are vegan and cruelty-free. They never use sulfates, parabens, or any other harmful ingredients. I use this all the way through my pregnancy too, which made it awesome. I love the fact that it is so personalized to my goals. It's so easy to set up, and I actually love the fact that my name comes on the bottle. It makes me feel super special.
You are extra special, babe.
So what are you waiting for? Go to functionofbeauty.com/EastFam to take your 4-part hair profile quiz and save 20% on your first order. Go to functionofbeauty.com/EastFam for 20% off and let them know you heard about it from our show.
That's functionofbeauty.com/EastFam. Let's get back to it. All right, I'm curious. All right, so Cody, I know you have a military background. You served for how many years?
10 years.
Dang.
Yeah.
First of all, appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's what actually contributed to my casting of Big Brother, because the military route I took was very different. I did 6 years in the Air Force, and then I went into the Marine Corps after that.
Dude, I saw that. I was trying to figure that out. I was like, that's not normal. It says, I was so confused. I'm confused by, like, I don't know what a corporal versus a sergeant, like what, and then I was like, Air Force must be a thing of the Marines.
So once it's never a good career move to go to the Marine Corps, because if you go from any other branch, you end up losing all your rank, and then you have to go through boot camp all over again.
Whoa.
But you get to do war, cool stuff like that. So,
yeah. I don't know if this is a question you're allowed to answer. It's just my curiosity.
Send it.
What is boot camp like?
It's
you can
just
totally say I can't talk about it.
No, you can.
Can't talk about Fight Club.
It's just a miserable experience. So in the Air Force it was only 6 weeks, but in the Marine Corps it was 3 months, and it's just constant misery.
Are you guys talking about marriage or?
I'm
kidding.
Wow.
I'm kidding.
That was intense.
All right, everybody calm down. I'm sorry.
Andrew sometimes likes to do these jokes where he thinks they're funny and then realizes after he says it that he's crossed line. Anyway, continue.
I'll press on. I'll bail you out. So 3 months for the Marine Corps, and it's so you're either too hot or too cold. You're always sweating no matter what. You're always dirty. You're always hungry. You're always tired. And you just do that every day for 3 months. And then, there's constant yelling, but that's not as big of a deal as just what your body is physically feeling the entire time. But you just know that it's going to be over. So you just kind of drone out through the entire time.
Are you guys talking about parenting or yelling? And I'm kidding. Jeez, can you laugh just one time? It's my life goal.
Jessica,
continue to dig.
Oh man, Jessica, what were you doing before Big Brother?
I moved around a lot. So I've lived in 9 states now that we're in Texas. And when I before Big Brother, I was in LA and I was working at a club called Tide. I was doing bottle service, and I was actually at this stage of my life where I was just like, okay, it's time to grow up. And I was trying to figure out what I wanted to actually do with my life. And then the opportunity for Big Brother came, and I was like, should I take it? Or is this just pushing off like the inevitable of me dealing with my future? And I ended up taking it, was scared shitless, but it worked out. So I'm glad I did it.
Actually, there's no cussing allowed on our podcast, so.
I feel like that's not true. I've listened to your episode. I thought about it for a second. I was like,
no, we can hear less.
This is fun. I'm having fun. Are you having fun?
I am. Another completely random question, but something that we dealt with when I got pregnant was, since you guys are coming from the reality TV world, you guys are influencers, you have so many people following your journey, your story. How have you guys faced the whole concept and transition of sharing your daughter and that life with the world?
We never really had an issue like showing any of that aspect.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, people are going to be rude no matter what. So we've had to obviously deal with like trolling.
Yeah.
I've actually had, I think like 2 comments where people have said like, does your daughter have cancer or something? Like, why is she bald? Which is completely
awful.
Do you know anything about children? Like,
right? So it's hard sometimes seeing the comments. We have pretty thick skin, so every once in a while there'll be a couple that get under my skin. Cody's never fazed by anything though.
No, because I mean, there's only a few people in this world whose opinions matter to me, so it's not like some random person says something I think too much about it. But as far as putting your kid out there right away, you know, you 2 have an Instagram for Drew, right? Yeah. I just think that's setting them up for success. And social media is normal these days. So if you don't teach them how to properly and responsibly use it as they grow up, they're eventually going to face it anyway. So you might as well just expose it to them right away and then teach them how to responsibly deal with everything.
I like that a lot.
Well said, Cody.
I just had someone on the podcast 2 days ago, and she was talking about how she has an Instagram account for her son, and he has enough followers where he can get brand deals, and he's little.
There you go.
And she's been putting all of his money in a savings account for college, which I think is phenomenal. Like, how can you be mad about that?
Yeah. We had the same conversation of like, if we can monetize anything from her, it's going into a savings account, a college fund, you know, a trust for her, because it's incredible.
Yeah. I never thought about it until she said it, which might make me a bad mom. But as soon as she said it, I was like, why aren't we doing that? That's genius.
It does not make you a bad mom.
Wait, was that the podcast you did that took our spot that day we were supposed to initially have this interview? Or
no, that was just replaced with me getting to talk and have them a little bit more downtime. I actually appreciate it more than you know that you guys canceled the first time. It saved my sanity a little bit. So thank you.
We had to cancel for people listening because Drew had an absolute meltdown, unexpected, and there was no consoling her. Yeah. So we were in, you know, the parent like frenzy.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. Andrew, how do you let your wife grow your hair that long?
I have been trying to get him to cut it for so long, and he won't.
I kid you not. Probably twice a day. She's like, it's time to cut your hair, Andrew. I'm like,
look at this.
It looks good. Ponytail length. Don't make it look bad.
No.
I wanted to get mine to that length. But Jessica just
got this, bro.
I'm not gonna lie. I love the ponytail. Like, you can rock the ponytail, but down.
Thanks, if he starts borrowing your straightener.
Imagine if I said that about your hair.
My blow dryer.
What if I said that about your hair? How'd you feel? Jeez, what if I'm an emotional being as well?
He has told me that the kind of hair he would love me to rock is jet black bob
Yeah, baby. Now you're talking
I
my
was like,
language.
so you,
Talk
you
dirty
want
to me,
someone
baby.
else.
You want someone that's not you.
Yeah. I
Now
have
you know what to
long
get
hair.
for Valentine's Day. You get one of those wigs.
Yeah, I'll just get a wig
for a day.
I'll
Wow.
get a wig.
And your present to her is cutting your hair.
No. All right, so you guys have done such a diverse selection of things, and Jess, we share this in common, having a podcast about people who have made these transitions. If you could tell us about your Now What podcast, that'd be awesome. That we were just on.
You know what? Now what just kind of happened out of nowhere. It wasn't something that I was trying to do or even was on my radar. And I was presented with this opportunity from some friends who started working with Podcast One. And I didn't realize how much I was actually going to enjoy it. Like, I really, really love it. It's such a learning experience. Every time you make an episode and put something out and you get feedback, you learn what works, what doesn't. Yeah. And my favorite part of podcasting has actually been getting my hands on people that I wouldn't typically be able to have a conversation with. Like you guys, for instance, like would have never in real life, actually, I'm not going to walk up to you at the airport and be like, hey, want to grab coffee and have a conversation? That would make me a weirdo. But now I'm like, hey, want to come on my podcast and have a conversation? And you said yes. So I get to just have these conversations with people that I admire, people that I watch on TV, and I get to, lock down my husband for an hour and have a conversation with me that we can share with people. And I love it. It's been a lot of fun. We're going into year 2, and I am going to continue doing it and hopefully produce better and better content. So I'm happy.
I love that.
Speaking of coffee, Cody, tell us about Couples Coffee.
Yeah.
I'm a coffee drinker. It's I don't know if it's part of the military.
How do you take your coffee?
Black. Straight black. Okay. So that's why I made it the way I did. I started off with one specific coffee, and it's flavored coffee, but I made sure that it's what I like to say, sweet enough for her but strong enough for him. So that way,
I like that.
Whenever me and Jessica have, or any other couple has coffee in the morning, she likes hers sweet, and I like mine strong and black. So it fulfills both those needs. And so that's on Amazon right now. I have over 500 ratings. It was one of the top average customer reviewed coffees for quite a bit.
Wow.
Still, I'm pretty sure on that front page, and still 5-star average review.
That's delicious. Amazing. Like, I hate drinking Starbucks now, and I'm not exaggerating. I love, love, love his coffee. It's so good.
Can I say what we just kind of worked on?
Yeah.
Okay. Amazon contacted us, and we are going to go to their studios, and we're going to be presenting different Valentine's Day gift ideas and it's going to be on their landing page, and they're going to also showcase Couples Coffee.
Let's go, boy! Let's go! I love that, man.
So if anybody wants some Couples Coffee, to find it, all you got to do is go to couplescoffee.com and give it a shot.
Boom.
That's amazing.
Yeah. All right, that was a sweet moment you guys just shared.
Quite the hype.
Yeah, it's freaking dope. It's a big deal.
I do.
Picked up the knife.
Yeah, I am curious. Last question. If anyone has ever turned your question around on you guys with the now what? So now what?
No one has done that.
Yes.
What an original, babe.
So thank you. Yeah, I love that.
Well, I mean, it's not really original because it's hers. It's like,
It was a great question though. Like we talked about on my podcast, I have really big dreams for 2020, which include a lot of traveling. So in February, we're going on my dream vacation. We're going to Rome and Paris.
Let's go!
Yeah!
Let's go! I'm sorry.
You're probably blowing out the audio.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, dude.
The second time was even funnier, just like the other joke. Twice, and it was funnier the second time.
Yeah.
Thank you. Repetition and perseverance are my strong points. Anyway.
So lots of traveling this year. Cody's gonna hate that, but we're gonna do it.
I like America, so I don't like to travel a lot, and it just I almost feel like people should travel to every state in the United States before they travel outside.
I mean,
yeah.
That's the point.
No, he doesn't, Shawn.
Just do a really quick road trip.
But Rome and Paris are pretty dope.
Yeah, we're excited for the food.
We're gonna make
Shawn
another baby in 2020 also. It's gonna happen.
All right.
Okay.
Jeez, holy smokes.
There's not one in the oven right now, but ask us in a month or two, and
There
that might
might be.
change.
Who knows?
Wow.
Hey.
Shawn White, that was not the last question.
Are we on your podcast or not?
Okay. You talking about Cody's coffee was really heartwarming. I'm curious, can Cody, you say some of the things you love about Jessica?
Oh yeah.
What are some of the things?
Oh yeah, please go ahead.
Sure.
Here's the mic.
Sure. She is ruggedly independent for just any kind of person, not just a woman. And she just, no, seriously, it's the way she spearheads everything in life and in her career. It's amazing to see. I didn't realize how business oriented she was, meeting her or anything like that, but just watching her tackle everything and how many opportunities she gains, not because of them just coming to her. She is actively seeking out opportunities. And she just knows how to articulate things in a way that's so natural. Like, I'm not articulate at all, but she's
Clearly
so
she's able to. I'm just kidding. We're friends. Okay.
But she's just such a natural, and it's great to see. And I'm excited for our daughters to see that and then be able to emulate her.
Can I do the thing where I pick up the mic and yell? No. I like that.
I thought you were going to do it. I thought you were gearing up for it.
That was really nice.
Very sweet, and that was very well said.
All right, toss it back, Jessica.
We always love asking couples this because it just shows different dynamics. It's just beautiful. So, okay, Jessica, your turn.
Okay, so Cody is just the most patient human in the world, and I'm not. So it's definitely something that I aspire to be because he's so great at it. And then just the way that he wants to raise our kids, like, I'm so excited for our children to have a dad like him because he's so active and he wants to play such an active role in their lives and teach them how to be the best at everything. And he's open to, like, not just taking the traditional path, but also teaching them how to be their own individual and not just, like, live in our shadow and just stand out. So I'm excited. I love him as a father. Like, I'm just really, it's my favorite thing about you is just, like, the kids that we're going to raise together because of everything that he stands for and everything that he's been through and he's going to teach them. Like, teaching Cody's my favorite.
Wow.
That's amazing.
I have an entire guide laid out. There's like a 10-page guide. I call it the Nickson guide, and there's just it's got everything on there.
That's
do y'all ever think about, like, your kids, like, as much success as you had, what they're gonna think? Like, are they gonna try and match mom and dad or try and exceed that?
I think about it every day, and it, like, terrifies me because, I mean, we've had, me personally, every single person I meet, they're always like, oh, are you going to put your daughter in gymnastics? Or, like, your daughter has to be a gymnast. And just that alone, I think, is a perfect example for, I mean, both of our kids' situations of the world already has pressure on our kids to be something. And I hate that. Like, I want them to feel driven and pushed and challenged, but I don't want them to feel like if they don't do what the world wants or pressures, like, is putting pressure on them to become, that they've somehow come up short. And it's such an interesting situation to be in as a parent because how do you raise them around that?
Yeah.
You don't want to, like, shelter them from the successes of their parents, but you also want them to be individuals and feel like they can do whatever they want on their own.
Well, the good news is, from my end, I've experienced a little less success. Set a little lower bar. So, I think
played in the NFL.
Drew can at least, have that to shoot for us.
Is there anything that you're going to do with your children to try to, like, offset that? Or how are you going to handle it? I don't know how we're going to handle it, but do you have any?
Because it's hard. We've talked about even just, like, memorabilia that hangs in our house. It's like, I don't want them to feel like they're living in mom and dad's success, but you also want that success to drive them and prove to them that you can do anything. I don't know how we're going to do it. We've talked through scenarios and situations, and I want our daughter to try gymnastics because I think it's truly the greatest sport out there. But I then don't want her to feel pressured to stay in it. And I don't know if there's any, coach out there that could coach our child unbiased. And I don't know. It's just like there's too much. It's too much pressure. Yeah, I don't know how to do it.
I think our general strategy is just to try to raise as strong of a daughter as possible without trying to brag about anything we've done. So anyway.
That's such a good point about the memorabilia. I would have never thought of that. I mean, we have pictures from The Amazing Race, and then Cody was nominated for a People's Choice Award. And so we have pictures of that right here in our office.
Yeah.
And in the living room. And now that you're pointing that out, it's like, I always worry about relationships that our children will have in the future, in the aspect of like mom and dad met in this like picture perfect kind of idea, like on a TV show, we fell in love and we had a bunch of babies. Like, I don't ever want them to feel pressure of this fairy tale story. You know what I mean? Hi.
Yes.
Hi, monkey.
There she is.
You want to see her?
Oh my gosh.
Look at her.
Oh, hi, Maverick. Oh, jeez.
Let me see.
She's beautiful. Oh my gosh. Her and Drew would be friends for sure.
Say hi. Can you wave? No, you just on my headphones. Look.
All right.
How old is she?
She's 10 months.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, your babies.
Wow. Hey, well, super pumped we could meet Maverick. I understand you guys have your hands full. So thank you so much for joining us on the show. Super pumped to have you guys as new friends too.
Yeah,
for sure.
We're going to send you some coffee. It's going to happen.
Okay, wait, we'll send you guys some honey.
Yeah,
yes,
we'll
please.
do a little trade-off. We'll do like a couple's coffee with some honey in it.
Yeah. Love that. All right.
If you guys haven't yet, head over to their podcast.
Oh yeah. Do you get, go ahead and do the promo.
Where can people find you?
You want us to pimp our
Pimp yourselves out.
Okay, so my Instagram is
Oh my goodness.
All
right, there's mom. There's mom.
Great. I have that to look forward to.
My Instagram is at the Jessica Nickson. Maverick's Instagram is at Maverick Nickson. We have the Now What Show Instagram page. You can find a brand new episode of Now What out every single Wednesday. You can find Cody at Cody the Marine on Instagram. And then also you can try Couples Coffee at www.couplescoffee.com. You said World Wide Web earlier, and you really brought me back to like the 90s.
Same. I heard that. I was like, did he just say World Wide Web?
I don't know why I did
Web?
that. Anyway, great to meet you.
Yes. Thank you
Awesome.
guys so much.
Thanks for having us.